Messenger? Oh,
yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness. Oh Lord.
That's what we're talking about. Those things.
Okay, yeah.
Those abominations. We're going to be talking about them. We're going to talk about them.
No.
Yeah, horrible covers. Horrible covers, which I have to say is not 100% my idea. Brian Black. That's his real name, by the way, Brian Black. Yeah, we're in this Twitter group, and constantly he's like, man, you gotta check this out. And it's always like nasty, horrible looking covers, these abominations. How did anybody think it was okay to have that? So we're gonna talk about that today. Oh.
Okay.
What am I doing? Deadman Stone Podcast. Your host, Mr. Deadman, co-host Becky.
Hey!
On our guest tonight. Let's see if I get this name right. Don't help me out here. Don't help me. Mary.
Oh, Lord. Okay. He slaughters names.
No. Here we go. Mary Genevieve Fortier. There we go. Did I say it?
It can be, it's either or. You can say Fortier or Fortier.
I thought it was Fortier.
It's been called Fortier.
It's French,
yeah,
right?
But it's Fortier.
I told him wrong.
Yeah.
Oh man, so I would have been right.
Yeah.
I would. Oh my God, I would have been correct.
And that was the name I was born. And that's the name I was born with too. So.
Oh man, well that's one hell of a name. See, I usually, because I'm horrible with the names, I usually just add a little Cajun flair.
Slaughter them.
It. Yeah. So, Mary Genevieve Fortier. There we go. You like that?
Yeah. You got it.
All right.
Oh,
listeners. We're open for donations.
Quite a name for a horror poet, huh?
Oh, man. Oh, anyway. We're open for donations. Streamlabs is open as well. You can donate that way, and when you do, a little zombie appears on the screen and all that. $5 donations, and I'll take a shot of what we have here on the shot cam. We have Dixie tea. We have some moonshine over here. Look at this. Yeah, we got this moonshine right here.
You do remember that it's Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it's Wednesday. But
you have to work tomorrow, Jesse.
Hangover Thursdays, that's how I roll now. Hangover Thursdays. So, $5 donations, I'll be taking a shot of American-born moonshine Dixie tea. It's horrible. It's nasty. It tastes like NyQuil. But you can make it happen. Let's make it happen. Let's see.
Oh, and don't forget, $10 donation. We're raising money for that computer, and I get to tase my brother.
That is correct.
And you all get to watch.
That is right. $10 donations, and yeah, you get to watch Becky tase her brother. And
I'll have a ring beside seat.
Oh Lord.
Oh, and
the peanut gallery is going off in here.
And one other thing. Oh man, I think you need to tease your brother now. I mean, damn it.
I think I need to tase him too. I know he won't shut up.
All right, so this Saturday we're gonna have a private show for all the patrons. You have to be a patron to see this. It's going to be this Saturday. It's going to be a sausage fest combined with some some glorious troll slaying. There's some trolls out there on Twitter that kind of cross paths, and we're going to be naming them, name dropping, and slaying them.
Name and shame.
Name and shame. And here's the thing, though. I thought it was going to be a bloody Saturday, but a few of these accounts, actually I think all of them, have already been terminated and totally shut down on Twitter. So if anything, it's going to be like a victory march afterwards. We slaughter them, but there is a name that's connected to all of them. That is, I mean, she does business in the industry. She's not big, but she does business. Anyway, so that's this Saturday. Become a patron. Patreon.com/DeadmanStone. All it takes is $1. There you go. Bam. Boom. And it's also going to be streamed on Stream Me. That way we can get away with things we can't do on YouTube.
They can hear the echo in the background.
Yeah. So, Mary, if you could unplug your earphones, that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Okay. You hear me
Okay.
all right?
Yeah, I hear you fine. I hear
Thank
good.
you. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
What it is, I think it's become too loudly. We're just too loud and proud, you know. Just all right. Do
It's
we
me.
have?
You can blame me.
Yeah, Becky, I'll blame you. Do we have any news items? Do we have anything to talk about real fast?
Oh, do we ever? Yeah.
Oh yeah. What's
So,
this?
do you want to start? Do you want to start small and go big, or how do you want to work this one?
Let's talk.
Or do you
about,
want to go big and then go home?
Let's start small and go big.
Okay. Well, I would say that this one is probably the smallest of the three that I have. Millennials tell Hasbro just how insulting the new Monopoly game is.
That's your small one.
Hasbro. Yeah, it is. Shut up. Hasbro has released a new game, Monopoly for millennials.
You can't even say it. For millennials. It's all right.
It's the tongue twister. If you can say it, then you get it for free, right?
You might,
They don't
might
want
as
it.
well.
That's the problem.
you might as well.
So they're giving it away.
Yeah, well, I don't think they can give it away right now. The box for the game shows Mr. Monopoly taking a selfie wearing headphones and participating in medals and holding coffee. The tagline reads, "Forget real estate, you can't afford it anyway, and adulting is hard. You deserve a break from the rat race." Rather than win by collecting the most money, the game prompts players to collect experiences, including visiting a friend's couch, going to a vegan bistro, and hitting a week-long meditation retreat. I can't talk. Game pieces include a hashtag and a crying emoji. Some people are amused and they think it's funny, and others think it's a mockery. And
It's
so
hilarious.
everybody's fussing and complaining about it. But I think it's hilarious.
Oh, it's totally fucking hilarious. It's one big fuck you middle finger to millennials. It is. It is if they don't have a sense of humor.
It really is, but it's so funny. Did you see the cover of it though? I mean,
I'm looking at it right now. It's on
lid
the
of the
screen.
box.
Oh, it's very rainbow.
Oh,
it's very
it's
colorful.
Priceless.
It has-
I love it.
It has everything about millennials
Right.
crammed into one. Crammed into one
I
little package.
know.
And it's like,
It's perfect. It's hilarious.
and looking into it, man, I got a kick that they're just like, get rid of money. There's no money in the game. It's Monopoly without money.
I know.
Are
How
you
can you have
serious?
Monopoly without? Yeah.
I'm
How can
serious.
you have
you
Monopoly
can't buy-
without money?
Well,
I don't know.
well,
I mean, you buy real estate, and I mean,
Well, they said that
every
you
time
can't
you play
afford
that
it
game,
anyway.
it takes you like 4 days.
They said, don't worry about real estate. You can't afford it anyway.
yeah. So
Oh, jeez.
what's the
That's what
point?
it says on the front of the box. I kid you not.
So you go to house, place to
They-
place, and you're just collecting what
Well, how come?
experience?
Your experiences. So I guess it's like points or something. I don't know.
Oh my god!
So you can't. They don't even have mobile homes or trailer parks. I mean, where you gonna live?
Ah, nah. Millennials are too good for
They're
trailer
living in a
parks.
cardboard box. They have tents. They have tents. Yeah, that's.
They can
Tents?
live,
I don't know.
they
Oh
can
my
live in
god.
tent cities.
Or
They can
is
live
it-
with the homeless.
Or are they all living in their mother's and
That's
dad's
exactly what I was going to
basements,
say. They're living in mom and dad's basement.
or they're still living in their bedrooms from high school?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is too funny. Oh my lord.
And you know they might as well have it where you start off with like a whole shit ton of like college debt and be like, there you go. Fuck it. Oh man. That's hilarious
That's-
shit. I think that's great. I just love the outrage though. I got a screenshot of one of the outrages right here. On the review, there's a 5-star review. It says, upsetting millennials is reason enough to own this game. I'm writing this review based on other reviews alone. In the picture, the fact that it's upsetting millennials enough is to leave a negative comment solidifies the reason for the version. And then, of course, right underneath it is someone giving it like a 1-star shit review. Poor taste. I would give no stars if I could. I saw this product in Walmart and just made me sad. Blah blah blah. Sad. Poor me. I can't afford things, and that's sort of the complaint. We're like, we have to pay rent. Rent's way too high. It's like, motherfucker. It's just fun. It's just to make fun. I'm sure there's a monopoly for rednecks, right? That's been done.
Oh, there has to be.
Yeah, there has got to be. They've got a monopoly for everything now.
If not,
and the thing is, like you said, I mean, it's for fun. It's a game, for God's sake. You know, It's not like it's like something. I mean, people are just so hypersensitive.
Oh, they are.
They are. You're not kidding.
And they're proving the point.
I mean,
they might as well just come out with monopoly for snowflakes at this point, or we're gonna raid you. I mean, they got rid of the game pieces. You know, they don't have the iron anymore because who's ironing clothes? First off, and second thing is it's a gender stereotype or whatever, so it'll be like sexist. I don't.
But okay, so guess what?
What?
Speaking of sensitive, I have a story for you.
Oh.
You will love this. You will die.
Okay.
This is the headline. Woman sues ex-boyfriend after his long penis stretched her vagina.
What?
Yeah, you heard me. In a shocking and bizarre case, a woman is suing her ex-boyfriend after his abnormally long penis allegedly overstretched her vagina, according to reports published. This woman is... it gets better. This woman is 29 years old and is planning to undergo reconstructive surgery after getting intimate with the 37-year-old male. However, what she's wanting and why she's suing him is she wants him to pay the $150,000 reconstructive surgery.
For the surgery. Yeah, she just wants her hoo-ha to get reconstructive surgery. So it looks good. That's her whole that's her motive. That's her motive.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, come on. That's just ridiculous. Really?
I'm glad there's a woman who agrees with me. This is
It is stupid as hell. She said she fell in love with him even though he was married at the time. Hello?
Oh, my God.
She ended her relationship in May this year.
Fell in love with him. I mean, how many times were they banging? I mean, what the hell? Oh, shit.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say. If it was one time and, she had some problems after the first time, okay. Well, obviously, if she did it more than once, she already knew.
Yeah.
Right.
And wait a second.
I mean
how
we
big
can't
is
be
this
very
guy?
surprised.
I mean,
it doesn't say.
This is going to court.
I mean, come on. There's also something called communication. You know, I mean, you talk to your partner and you say, "Hey, whoa," you know, or
too much in there,
right?
But you just, I mean, I can't. And the courts are actually going to allow this to go through.
She met her ex. She met him in 2016, but she broke up with him this May.
No. See, yeah,
that's like
they were getting it on multiple times, and she should have been well adjusted to his. I mean, come on. There's some other issues here. She's mad.
I can think of a few adjectives, but I'm not going to say anything.
I'm being nice.
Oh, yes,
you are being nice. Holy shit!
I'm trying to be nice. Yes.
And I'm rubbing off on Jesse. Yes. Am I rubbing off on you, Jesse?
I think so. I'm trying to be polite.
Oh, he likes it. Don't let him lie. Don't let him lie. He likes it.
No, but what's going on here in this situation? This woman was the other woman. She was the one who was getting all the banging, all the rough and the hot stuff, the stuff that he couldn't do to his wife or whatever. And they've been doing it for a while, but all she was the other woman. She wanted more, and he was never going to give it to her.
Yeah, she's mad.
And so now she wants to make him pay by suing him. But I want to follow this court case. I want to get the court documents on this, because if it actually goes through, there's actually going to be a court case where the size of the man is important. I want to hear him on the stand have to be like, Your Honor, but I'm really not that long.
Yeah, how does he decide? Yeah.
How do they enter that into evidence?
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Oh God, I'm sorry, but I just had the O.J. Simpson trial in my head with the glove.
The glove. Hey, it doesn't fit.
Yes.
So,
oh no.
So
I've corrupted Mary.
So they prove it all. So they have to prove it right there in court. But she's like, look, Your Honor, it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit.
Okay, well, look, I'm going to say this. I'm going to be the judge. I'm going to say, well, let's see it.
Yeah, let's see it.
You've shown everybody. No.
And
if it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a catchy phrase. And you're like, but Your Honor, that's why we're here. We're here because it doesn't fit. I'm sorry, it don't fit. You must acquit. Oh man.
Oh, now my cheeks are hurting.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Do we have more material like this?
So do her cheeks.
I like those cheeks.
Shit. Okay. All right. Okay. Hold on. Let's reel it in.
Oh, God.
All right. Come on, close,
I
ladies.
read her mind. Oh, God.
Now I have one that you'll. Now I have one that you'll complain and rage about.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
This is the headline says, "Wasn't this supposed to be the golden age of horror?"
Okay.
Remember when horror was good? It wasn't that long ago. Just last year, in fact. Scary movies went on an absolute tear in 2017. We had all kinds of blockbusters. And so what they're saying is 2018 has not been good for horror. That we haven't had any good horror movies.
Like, haven't had any? Because,
That's what it pretty much says.
I beg to differ. There've been some pretty good releases. Shit.
Well, they're talking about Halloween, the new Halloween. They said it's not scary. It's a retro slasher film.
What about A Quiet Place?
Talks about Jamie Lee Curtis being over 55.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jamie Lee Curtis being over 55. Well, so now they're age shaming because grandma can't take out Michael Myers. Is that their problem? Is that not realistic to watch her running away with a cane or with a walker?
Right.
Well, what about Hereditary?
Yeah, there's Hereditary.
Oh my gosh, I love that one. Well, they say horror needs an element of fun, of dark delight. Hereditary, which I liked, missed this quality too. And I defy you to take any delight in I don't even know how to say that. Suspiria?
Suspiria?
Yeah.
Suspiria.
Yeah, Suspiria. Yeah. I mean, that was
or
good.
to explain what on the earth is going on in that final set.
But
in which the heads explodes and bodies fall apart, and never once does your heart race.
Of course, this is coming from Vogue, right? This is Vogue. Like,
yeah,
they're not really going to a place for horror. This is just to make me rage, and that's what's kind of stopping right here. It's like they want me to rage, just so they can get some feels. So it's like they want to troll me. No, I'm not taking this bait. I'm not taking this bait. Look,
they talk crap about House on Haunted Hill, the Netflix series.
That's a good
and
one.
Oculus, Ouija.
So Vogue shadow over House on Haunted, whatever hill, whatever the Netflix series.
Yeah, House of Haunted Hill, and Oculus, and 6 Feet Under. It says this is as much a 6 Feet Under style drama about the fault lines in the family, and as it is a spook show about a haunted house. That's
someone that is really just trying to get a reaction. That's what that is. They're just raging. I bet they're laughing when they type that. Hell, I could have come up with that piece if I really wanted to on a bad day with a hangover. Been like, I hate everything. Let me just tear everything a new one.
Well, one of the last lines says, "This is all the more disappointing because just living through 2018 has felt a bit like a horror film."
Oh, well, see.
Keep talking crap about horror.
Who makes
this? Not make it through 2019.
Yeah, right.
Who is this person? A reviewer, or are they just are they a columnist? What gives them the authority on horror? What do they normally write about?
They have eyes?
That's what I want to know. It gives the name, but I'm not familiar.
Yeah, because I mean, there was like Insidious and The Conjuring, and
there's
and Hereditary. Oh my gosh, that was good.
Hereditary. Yeah, that was a good one.
There was another one on Netflix, Apostle. Yeah, it was a little bit. It was kind of slow for me, but the imagery was all right. The imagery was pretty wicked. But
I didn't see that one.
That's pretty good stuff.
It talks about A Quiet Place too. I haven't seen that one.
A Quiet Place. Look, I know some people shout on the movie for different reasons, but I enjoyed that one. As for I hate that movie because of it's pretty much the little girl's fault. It was the little girl's fault that her dad died. It's the little girl's fault that her brother died. It's the little girl's fault that a lot of shit happened. And I was like, man, come on.
Yeah.
It's like she just keeps on making mistakes. Okay. But
then they said they were talking about Winchester, The Nun, and Slender Man. They don't like them either. They didn't like anything.
See, I never saw The Nun, but I saw coming attractions of it, and it looks pretty creepy.
Yeah, it really did.
You read?
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Did you have?
It was all right. I didn't hate it.
I haven't seen The Nun.
I didn't.
I mean, I would. My problem would be with things like Slender Man or Truth or Dare, which is not for me. Truth or Dare is another one that's that's a horror flick for teens. You bring a date to the movies.
When you get a bunch of kids and
yeah. That's what that's for. And
where you put all these bunch of kids in there, and they're just you stick them in a room and they're gonna have they're gonna have sex and then get killed because they're being naughty.
Yeah. And in that moment,
that was generally the 1970s and early 80s underlying themes for the majority of horror movies.
It was.
Because they were aimed at the teenagers, so they go to watch them. And the majority of them, I mean, although they were rated R, they were pretty tame.
Yeah.
As far as some of the really, really good stuff that's been out there. I mean, even just recently, I'm amazed at some of the things that have been out. I'm excited because for years, you'd be lucky if 1 or 2 horror films came out in a year, to go and see at the theaters or something. Now it's too expensive to go see them at theaters. It's cheaper to get anything on Netflix. But or rent the movie or something. But as far as movies and horror movies, and somebody saying that there was nothing in 2017, 2018, that's crazy.
I know.
And go back a few years.
Total crap.
No.
So yeah, Vogue's full of shit here. I think now is a good time to go into horrible covers.
Oh Lord!
Now I sent you these images. I'll put one on the screen. I'm gonna put the one we'll put up is called Harvesting Rue. Harvesting Rue. Oh my God, this is so horrible looking. Oh man. Harvesting Rue. Candace Smith. Look at that cover. Like, you see this? It's like what's going on here? You have
what are you doing?
Like, she's praying to a rock.
You don't even want to know.
She's praying. She's praying to a rock.
What are they harvesting Rue? What the?
Yes.
Does the cover have anything to do with what the name is?
Yes, it does.
Not.
It has 100% to do with it.
First off, let's discuss him. Okay.
The Indian, the Native American.
Look at the look on his face.
He looks mad. He looks constipated.
He looks like he can't poop.
Yeah.
He looks like he can't poop.
He's gonna need a shit.
Oh God.
I've never seen an Indian have pants on like that.
No, I mean, yeah, I don't see too many Native Americans, but pants on like that. I mean, shit, what's he doing there? That's like those are like leather tights. What's going on there?
Yeah, looks like a ballerina.
And someone put this on a cover.
Why? Just why?
I don't know.
Is he a Neanderthal?
Okay, now I have one more question about this cover.
Okay.
Do you and see? It took me a while to notice this, and so you all may not have noticed it yet. But do you see
on her legs?
the airplane.
Yes, I just noticed that now. I noticed
There's an airplane?
There is an airplane.
Oh my gosh, there is an airplane. Is that an airplane or is it a rocket?
It's a cock rocket.
Is that supposed to be? Oh my gosh! Is that supposed to be like
the missile? Trump is gonna nuke it. Trump is like, fuck it. We're not gonna have Native Americans harvesting Rue.
They look like. Oh my God! They look like.
That's phallic. Seriously, that's definitely.
Poor Rue.
They look like Planet of the Cave Bear, and then they have a rocket. I mean, hello. At least it's not red.
And then, is it primating dominance? Is that another thing?
And this is book 2, guys. You know this the Atlantis series.
Book 1.
What the hell does book 1 look like?
I couldn't find it.
Oh my dear God!
I couldn't find it. No.
Okay, wait a minute. Look at the Miranda's Destiny. Put that one up there. The damn rockets are up there too.
Miranda's Destiny. Let's see. I have that. Put that. Oh, wow.
And this time he's in red.
Oh, you know what?
I don't think still looks like he can't poop.
Let me see if I pull up Miranda's Destiny.
It's prehistoric romance, right? Is that what it is?
No, this does not look prehistoric. Yeah. This looks modern time, Native American with white woman, white booty, with jets and missiles. This is modern time. Actually, they go to space.
The Aztec thing in the background with Stonehenge in the front. Now, how the hell did that all come together?
Let me see if I can get that.
Oh no! Yeah,
I know I saved it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Miranda's booty, right?
I'm Native American. There we go. I'm a good deal Cherokee, and there's just no way any of my people looked anything like this.
No, But
and when you say that, you mean you're more Native American than Elizabeth Warren, right? I mean, she's pretty much like nothing.
Well, she sure does not look like she has to poop and can't.
No. Oh, but look at that guy. Yeah. Oh, so I like that.
He's in red this time.
Yeah, it went from black to red. Like, what is that? What is that supposed to be? What does that mean? Those are spaceships.
He has 2 sets of clothing. I don't know.
Ah.
Okay, is this like, is this going back to that
Wait a second.
This
is book 1.
Oh, Lord.
This is Atlantis series book 1.
This goes back to that court case, right? Are they going to use this for the court case?
Yeah. No, but I'm looking at this on the cover. So this is Atlantis series book 1, and Harvesting Rue is the second one. Oh my god. Oh my god. What are they in Harvesting Rue?
It just gets worse.
Jesus, man, what is this Native American doing? What is he doing?
I don't know. He doesn't even want to look at her.
He does not have right.
She's not looking at him.
There's no consent. Hashtag me too. He's not allowed to do this. No.
Okay, look at the next one, the one with the truck.
Semi-hard.
I mean, really?
Who's driving?
Does a cowboy?
Is the girl got like a? She's got a gag
in her mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. She has a ball gag, or something.
Yeah, I just don't even have words for that. And then the next
see what
one.
The license plate says Slave 1.
Slave 1.
Yeah.
Oh my god! It's actually Candace Smith. Okay, I'm gonna give her some defense here. Candace Smith actually shows restraint in that it's a white woman and not a black woman in a truck that is called Slave 1. Because that would just be over the line. That would just be horrible. That'd be the worst thing.
Shut up. Oh my god. Okay, now look at the next. But I will give that one this much. At least there's no rocket ship in that one.
No, but this is an audio. This is an audio book, by the way. Semi-hard.
Really?
It's an audio book.
Shut up! Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh my god!
I wonder what is the. It looks like Zorro driving, by the way.
It does. Zorro
well, that
Garth
ain't
Brooks
Tonto
or some
next to him. Look at the other one, Surviving Demands. Now, okay, that woman is.
She's not in a good situation.
Well, obviously not.
No,
but I mean, the rope's up her butt.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What's that all about?
Yeah, right.
I mean, how do you tie someone up and do it that? What's the purpose of that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I wonder if this is related to the Native American, the space guy we saw. I don't know if this is Rue afterwards.
Oh, maybe.
Or is
she has like a collar on that goes around her mouth and around the back of her head.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Yeah, that's real. That's to keep in line because last time.
Did you see the guy's name?
Candace Smith.
Oh man, come on, really?
Covered by Dave Annis.
and yeah.
Dave Annis.
And the thing is, this is for fun. I mean, what is that?
Dave Annis.
Oh.
Cover photo. Bye. Does it even matter? I mean, come on. You can just Google this and put it together.
Can I tell you this? If I did that, I would not want my name on it anywhere.
No.
The apocalypse with guys.
You guys.
If I ever make a cover like that, Jesse, smack me.
You guys are being ignorant. I'll tell you why. You guys are being completely ignorant here.
Uh-oh. We're getting schooled. Go ahead.
We're getting in trouble by Jesse. Oh no.
Yes.
Oh holy shit.
Harvesting Rue.
No.
Is 121 pages, right? It's 121 pages, and it has 4 stars.
Okay.
It's a 4-star book on Amazon.
Wow.
Okay, but how many reviews does it have? 1?
It has like 3. but it's above the 1 millionth rank, which is kind of someone bought it. Someone bought this.
Well, in cooking, what a roux is, right?
It's like a butter and it's a butter and flour mixture.
And flour mixture, right? So does that have anything to do with it?
I don't know. I thought Rue was the lady's name. I thought he was harvesting her.
Oh.
Well, who knows? I'm not about to read it and find out. You read it, Jesse. Tell us next week.
I will. I'll read it. I'll read it on the show.
I don't read romance and that kind of stuff. No.
Well, I mean, I'll do it for the show. I mean,
yeah, just for the show. Oh, did you hear that, Becky?
I read it just for the show. He's
taking one for the show.
I'm gonna be sick that episode.
Oh man!
Is that the day you're gonna be tasing your brother?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm not gonna be able to play that day because I'm tasing my brother.
All right, so ladies, gentlemen, definitely learn from those covers. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't. Please don't.
Yeah, please don't. We're begging.
Think before you have somebody put that on your books.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll be coming for you.
Please.
I'm going to do this. Like every show. We're going to start making fun of covers.
And that's the thing. People don't realize how important a cover really is. Because that's the first thing that anyone looks at when they're going to pick up your book. You pick up your book and they see a cover like that. And they look at it and it's going to look ridiculous. They're going to put it down. They're not even going to turn it around and look to see what the book is about. They're going to look at it and go, this looks stupid. And then put it down, And so, even horror, books that have, poorly drawn things, it's like you look at it and you think, what is the quality of the inside,
Right.
So they always say, don't judge a book by its cover, but people do.
They do. You're not kidding.
Yeah, especially.
And that's sad. I hate that.
Oh man.
Yep.
So I think now is a perfect time to segue into about you, Miss Fortier.
Okay.
Miss Fortier.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
We'll start with who are you and what do you do?
Okay. Well, as you know, I'm Mary Genevieve Fortier, and I am a multi-award-winning horror poet.
And that is a lovely name, by the way.
I started. Oh, thank you. I started writing traditional poetry when I was about 7, and throughout the majority of my life, I was first published at 9, and I've been published in countless anthologies and such, and traditional poetry. And a few years back, there was a submission call for horror poetry. And I thought, well, I'll do that. And I did, and it's just kind of taken off. It's what I do, and I've always loved horror. Anything horror. And I started writing horror poetry, and I write it's different from, well, at least when I started writing. I know that I've influenced a lot of the way that horror poetry is looked at now. Used to be when there was a submission call for poetry, they'd say, okay, well, maybe, at most you have 15 lines or something. It's like, I laugh at that. My poetry runs, into the word counts into the 1,000, over 1,000.
Oh, wow.
And my work is narrative, so it's not just a few stanzas of imagery. It's actually a story. So it's more or less like a mini short story that's done in poetic form. And I've been deemed the modern day Poe, which is very humbling.
The modern day Poe. Like, how did you earn
yes.
that?
I, through various submissions and reviews and just people reading my stuff and saying, you know, that it's, I mean, even in reviews where people have said, you know, brought up the fact that you know, it's actually on the front cover of my book. One of them that said that it is no wonder that Mary Genevieve Fortier has been called the modern day Poe. She is that good, and that's, like you said, that's really humbling. I mean, to be compared to Poe. I love Poe, but I never set out to sound like him or write like him. But I guess that my imagery, that the word structure, the cadence, and the fact that it's also narrative, and it's different from, like you said, from the majority of poetry that is out there.
Yeah.
One of the things when I was a few years back, a wonderful writer who I really admire. Her name is Donna Fox, and she had she had said, you know, she said something that really, really touched me, and I will carry that forever. And she just said, "Thank you, Mary, for bringing poetry back to horror." And that was really, I mean, I've been given so many accolades, and I like I said, it's extremely humbling. I still pinch myself whenever, because I write something and I go and I send it in, and if I'm still not happy with it, and it comes back and they're like, you know, everyone's happy with it. They're, you know, and I still, like, to me, I write it and I, you know, I put it away and I don't read it again for a while. It's like it just it comes out and that's it. But like you said, I wrote traditional poetry for quite a long time, and when I started writing horror poetry, one of my first submissions, there was this book. It was called Temporary Skeletons, and there was I queried about poetry, and the publisher said, no, there's no poetry in the book, and I said, well, you know, I'm just going to send you a piece, and, you know, if you like it, okay. If not, you know, then that's all right. So I sent it in, and it ended up opening the book, and it was the only poem in the book. And that was really, being the only poem and opening a book, that was pretty awesome.
Amazing.
No, and I've won several Editor's Choice Awards, and I've won, aside from writing poetry, I'm a columnist. I'm Nighty Nightmare. I started out on Staying Scared, the owner of the website, Thomas Skopal. He had asked me one day, how would you like to write a column on my website? And I was like, yeah, okay. And he said, well, just pick a catchy name. And I said, okay, Nighty Nightmare. And he says, love it. And he says, it's yours. And I just started, I said, well, what do you want? He said, write whatever you want, as long as it's horror, that's, you know. And so Nighty, she's witty. She writes about anything horror. She has a realm, and she lures you in, and she tells you well, she's informative. Like I did one column on hearses, and believe it or not, they actually had motorcycles. There's a hearse that's a motorcycle.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, so just things like that. But I do it with wit and with horror, and I've been named Woman in Horror 5 years in a row, and cool. Nighty Nightmare has a lot to do with that. In addition to all my poems and various books, and Nighty Nightmare did one thing on superstitions, and cemeteries and all different things like that. Like I said, if you went to Nighty Nightmare, StayingScared.com, Nighty Nightmare, you'll see there's tons of them on there. But Nighty Nightmare decided to do some audio of the columns, and there was a audio art festival, and Nighty Nightmare won a bronze award for that. And I've done a podcast, Terror Train podcast, where I was Terror, the Disembodied Voice. And how that came about was there was an anthology called Terror Train.
Okay.
And the editor had approached me and asked me if I knew anyone who did like dramatic readings. That she wanted to change. She wanted to turn the anthology. Her name was Krista Clark Grabowski, and she's a great editor. And she said, "Well, do you know anybody?" And well, my husband is he's a former Shakespearean actor. So and he also writes horror as well. But I said, well, yeah, David, he reads really well. And she said, I'm going to send in a few stories and, let him read for me and then send them back. And so he started reading them and reading the stories. And I wrote the opening poem for Terror Train. And so it was, he would read that, and as he's reading that, I'm like behind him in the while he was recording, and I'm whispering, like echoing in this voice of terror, and that's how she was born. And as he's toward the end of the thing, Terror is laughing. And I walked away, and I told my husband, I used to scare my daughter with my laugh, the evil laugh. And I walked away, and I was laughing, and he had it still on the recording. And like I said, that's how Terror was born. And so we did the entire Terror Train anthology as an old-time radio podcast. And it ended up being really cool. And we're going to start doing Terror Train. Yeah, Terror Train 2. That's on YouTube. And like I said, Nighty Nightmare, the audio is nightynightmare.net. And I do through Fortier Wooden Box Media Works. My husband and I do readings and narrations for other authors. One of I've got 3 really favorite pieces.
Those are the ones you sent me.
Well, those were that was Terror, and that was the Terror Train, and that was Nighty Nightmare, the horror. with these, I didn't send you these because they're other authors, and although I read for them, So like there's this author, his name is Sheldon Woodbury, and he had asked.
Oh, I worked with him before.
Either David.
Several times.
Yeah, Sheldon is great. And he had asked if either David or I would read for him one of his stories, and there was The World on Fire, and then there was the prologue, and The World on Fire. I took the piece and I walked away with it, and I'm reading it out loud, and my husband calls me the one take wonder, because I never have to read anything twice. Anytime I do anything, it's the first take and that's it.
That's a good way to be. I wish it was like that. Damn.
Yeah.
Be easy.
And it's, well, what it is I feel it, you know, and that was the one thing I really connected with The World on Fire when I was reading it, and I read it and
gotta pause real fast, so remind people, hey, Shot Cam, it's on Moonshine right here. When we take this $5 donation, there's a link down in the description box, either PayPal, Streamlabs, either way, $5 donation. I'll take a shot of this Moonshine right here. All right, I'm sorry.
We'll take a shot of it now for me.
Now?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I guess so.
But
all right, I'm doing all right. Dory, you continue. You're good.
but
wait for Jesse to come
a beautiful
up with one.
But a beautiful horror is what I read for Sheldon Woodbury, it was like I said, it was really, really great. It was a great story, and I read for Rick Powell poetry and James Ward Kirk. We did, my husband and I did it together. It was a story called Synesthete, and I was Monarch, who was a dead girl, and that was very, very cool. Yeah, and if you go to YouTube and you look up Synesthete by James Ward Kirk on YouTube, you'll see the recording that my husband and I did. That was fun.
I've seen
and have you? Yeah, you should. Yes. We loved doing that. It was great. It was really great. It's another one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Let's see. I told you I was Woman in Horror. I've been an editor for Black Bed Sheep Books, which you had Nicholas Grabowski on just a few days ago.
He is awesome. I love him.
He was great.
Yeah, and then I
was gonna say, you mentioned Sheldon Woodbury. He was also in Bikers versus the Undead, one of the latest releases from Deadman's Tome, which I just had to do a little right there. I'm sorry. Oh, which by the way, Becky, did we forget to read an ad today? Or has it already been 5 shows? It's been 5 shows already?
No, it hasn't been 5 shows. No. Hold on. I got to find it.
Oh, man. Yeah,
I'm so sorry I'm grounded.
Hate to interrupt.
Why didn't you remind me?
Well, there's
You're grounded.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to keep me in line.
Well, that's the problem there. I have to interrupt your podcast for an important message from one of our sponsors.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the
Go,
ad.
Becky, go.
It's from Richard Rumpel. What happens when a succubus takes advantage of a creature of the night? Why are Bigfoot creatures so hard to find? What would you do if attacked by slithering serpents? Gabriella is your guide to 13 tales of terror in her book, Gabriella Tales from a Demon Cat. Readers state, I didn't sleep for 3 days after that story, and that one scared the hell out of me. Richard Rumpel's Gabriella Tales from a Demon Cat, available on Kindle or in paperback at Amazon.com.
All right. Okay.
Oh.
Now, One thing I would definitely want to start into on this is you seem like a very well-grounded person, like down to earth. I don't know how you are managed to stay so level-headed and keep your ego in check after all these awards and accommodations and credentials that you've earned. What's your trick? Like how do you manage that?
How do I manage that? I love to do what I do. I love the horror community. I look at them as a family. And I don't see them as competition. Like you said, I see everyone as family. And I think there are a lot of wonderful, incredible, horror authors and talent out there. And, I like to see them, get accolades and be, rewarded for their work. And everyone says that's the other thing. I've been called one of the nicest women in horror, which that's another very sweet thing too.
I believe it. I believe it now. I mean,
I do too.
I'm not sure how I'm not sure how you get Poe in being the nicest woman, but I could see it.
And there's like sometimes they say that. Down. Yeah, that's the other thing that people do. I was on the Wicked Library years and years ago, and Nelson Piles had said we'd write back. I wrote back and forth to him in regards to my poetry being read by him on the Wicked Library, and so we had several correspondences, and he had said on my show that he couldn't believe that this really nice lady wrote such horrific things. And it was funny. But yeah, I think of things, and when I write, it's words come to me. Sometimes when I'm sleeping, I wake up and there are words, and they come so quickly that I can't seem to write them down fast enough. And if someone speaks or utters a sound or turns on a light, the flow is gone, and I lose them. I've written I've written on my bed sheets, my hand. I tried to write in the dark. Yeah, I write in the dark, and I try to use my hand. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to write them down, or it's gone. If you don't write them down immediately, they're gone. That's just how poetry is.
Did someone see you write them on your bed sheets? I mean, if I saw someone write on their bed sheets, I'd probably like, do you need help? Do you need to be? I mean,
you're like, no, I need paper.
See, it's like, yeah, if I can't find, generally I keep a lot of paper by my bed, but if it's coming so quickly and I'm grabbing for the pen and I'm reaching for paper and it's just, the words are just flying through my head, and I can see them as well as hear them, and I have to write them down, and if it's not coming fast enough, if I don't grab things fast enough where I'm losing it, I just write on the bed, and it'll come off. It comes off. Use hairspray.
That is a trait of an artist.
Hairspray.
So maybe you are a tortured soul.
Use hairspray.
Because that's, you mentioned Poe. I'm like, they call you the new Poe. I'm like, are you a tortured soul too? Do you see yourself like that, or?
I've not had a real easy life. I was pretty much throughout my childhood. I was pretty much a loner. I really didn't get along with like my peers. Like people they were always my brother. He passed away about 1.5 years ago, and he was my best friend, other than my husband.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. But he was 13 years older than me, and he never talked down to me. Never. He never talked to me as though I were, a child. And we used to have these in-depth conversations, about life and atoms. And my brother was an incredible man. And I would say that he had a great deal to do with inspiring me. And, when I would write, and then my traditional poetry is very, it's very different from the horror poetry. It's quite philosophical. Anyone who used to know me when I was writing poetry and when I was younger, they used to say you should write for yes. So that should kind of give you an idea of the language, the mindset, the consciousness. And it's at the age of 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and writing like that was quite different from anybody who would normally be 6, 7, or 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. I mean, no one thought the way I thought. And so I never really felt like I never told a lot of people that I wrote. And I sing. My brother, my mother, my mother was in a band from the time she was 9.
Oh, that's cool.
She traveled the southern states. Yeah, they were the Kentucky Mountaineers. My brother, he sang with Chicago Transit Authority before they became Chicago. He sang with the band. He sang on WLS radio. And so that's also in my blood. Well, I come from a long line of singers, musicians, and I think that also plays a part in poetry because of that rhythm, that cadence, that it's musical. It's to me, even horror poetry is beautiful. The words, I love words. Okay. It's just words are, you see them, you feel them, you taste them. They're just and being able to close my eyes and to impart on paper what is going through my head, to give you some sort of a picture and let it play out as though someone were writing a story is, that's a big thing. I mean, I'm
impressed here. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just impressed. I think the chat is too. I think there's one thing I definitely want to just lay in here. You seem to have a really intimate relation with words and prose, and I'm just awestruck right now. Just go ahead, continue. I mean, you're doing great. I just want to
thank you. No, thank you. I started when I was, like I said, as when I started writing horror poetry, and coming up with, just someone would give you a submission call and they'd say, "Could we write about this or write about that?" And I never thought, that, okay, well, someone would tell me, I mean, off the cuff, I could always just put together a poem. I mean, my brother and I were always really good at doing parodies, musical parodies, and or just throwing together words, to make something funny, or just my daughter, she used to sit there, she'd have to write a poem, and she was sitting there trying to write one, and I took her outside one day, and I told her, you're going about it all the wrong way. I took her outside, and I said, just close your eyes and listen. And I said, what do you hear? And she said, well, I hear the wind. I go, no, listen beneath the wind.
Oh, wow.
What do you hear? What do you hear? And then I'd say, no, describe it to me, what you hear, and then what do you feel? What does that sound make you feel? Not just the sensory of it, the wind against your skin, but the sound. What does that sound make you feel? You know, and then do you smell something? Is there something, you know, use all of your senses. And, you know, and it's just like a photographer. You know, anyone can take a picture of a landscape. But if you go in and you look at it from another perspective, you know, like crawling into a crevice and laying upside down and looking at the sky from another angle, you know, and capturing it in a way that no one else sees it but you. And that's kind of how I write. I guess it's like I see things only from my perspective. I love to read, and I love to read other people's work, but what comes from me, it's all me. And sometimes it's scary, because I sometimes read back what I've written, and it was like, wow, I wrote that. My husband, if he reads it, after he reads something that I wrote, he's like, oh my gosh, what did you do? Becky read my books.
Oh yes, oh absolutely, and they are amazing. I dabble in poetry a little, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Someone once said to me about writing poetry, I just hold the pen. And that is so very true for me too. That, you know, it just seems like I write it and then I read it back and I'm like, where did that come from? You know, I mean,
when I was younger,
identify with what you're saying.
Yeah, because when I was younger, you know, words would come to my mind, and I'd think to myself, where did I ever hear that word? Where did that ever come from? And yet it was there on the page, and it fit, you know. And as I say, you know, the writing that I did when I was young, it surpassed my age. It really did. Yeah. No one ever believed that, you know. I mean, that is how I was published at an early age, because teachers, you know, I won an essay award, a citywide essay award in Chicago, and I had my picture in the paper, and my teachers were always trying to get me involved in writing things, and they're the ones who actually grabbed my stuff, and they published me in with the Board of Education. Oh, wow. Which was, I was totally thrown by it. And years after, I went back to the school where I had graduated from grade school, and they were all, you know, what have you done? We know you're writing. And they at graduation, they said they wanted the principal stop me on the stage and said, I want you to remember her name because she's going to be something. And that's why it's really important that I always write under my name. And I would never change my name. So it's always Mary Genevieve Fortier. Wow. But this is interesting. When I started writing
this, not to interrupt, it's just there's so many people out there right now that are working to make a dollar, trying to make a living, just writing under a pen name or some other name, because it's material that they don't really care much for, or they don't really want to associate it with them. But they do it because it can make money, you know, like erotica and stuff like that. Right. But here you are with a genuine voice. You write your stuff, and you have I don't know. You seem like more human than human, if I put it that way. Like, I don't know, you seem to be really in tune with your senses, really in tune with language, have a very strong connection with words in a way that I'm just like, whoa. I mean, I could write a story. I like writing stories, but poetry, I mean, the connection with the word, it's like, it becomes like...
It's all about where she knows where to place every word perfectly. I mean, that's the only way that I know to describe it. You know, when you have a poet that writes the caliber that she does, you'll notice that. I mean, it's not just about flow and the rhyme scheme or the rhythm or whatever you want to, however you want to put it. It's about the words that are used and where they're put, because you can take one word in a poem and move it, and you'll change the entire thing.
Yeah, and the one thing is that I'm a real stickler on. I hate redundance.
Oh, yeah, same here.
So if it's like if someone uses a word so often, now if there's a reason for it, to be used quite often in the one piece,
right.
Then it's, it has its purpose. They're trying to make a point. But if it's used too often within and that's another thing with poetry, is that certain words are not necessary, because you don't need a lot of the smaller words. You need a lot of, like I said, imagery. So the more words that like I said, for me, that I feel, that I sense, that I taste, these words are very, they come to life. They have life. To me, they are. They do. Like I said, words are just, I adore words. Words are just, how do I put it? Words are, they're more than just a way of communicating. They're more than just, something that someone can etch on a page. They have a life of their own. And even in horror, they have beauty. Like I believe that there's an author, Dan Simmons, who to me, I mean, he's a horror author, and yet I remember reading Summer of Night and A Winter's Haunting, I think it is. And I mean, the first time I picked up that book and started reading it, I was just so taken by the construction of his words, because it was like poetry. It drew me in. And whenever I read a book, that's what I look for. If something's really choppy, it's almost like a bad note. When you hear music and a chord is off, and if I read a poem that's like that, if it's choppy, or if it doesn't flow, like where you feel it, like you feel like you're almost like on a staff, it's like it just kind of flow along a staff, and if you're going along and all of a sudden you hit that wrong note, it's almost like nails on a chalkboard to me. It's like that. It's like it's almost painful, and I think it's because of the fact that I look at words as being something so, like I said, more alive than just these simple little etchings on a page. And when everyone was saying, you have to do an entire book, Mary. And at first I started with, I had an idea for an anthology, which was Toys in the Attic. And I brought it up to James Ward Kirk, and he told me to go for it. And so I compiled, I edited it, and I chose everyone had to have, I said, you have to have a toy. It has to be a toy that's found in an attic. And it has to be an evil toy. and I said, there were certain things that were not allowed. There were no. I didn't want any teddy bears.
What about other toys?
I didn't want.
No.
No?
No, not those kind of toys.
If you're talking about toys in the attic, I mean.
In the attic.
But what ended up happening was I had, for each toy, there was a story, there was a poem, and there was a piece of artwork. And the book itself, James Lord Kirk, I loved working on toys. It was a labor of love. And I wanted everyone who worked in it to have fun, to love it as much as I did, and it was at first, when I had the call for poetry, nobody was sending in poems, and I realized they were afraid to send poems to me for fear that they would not, I guess, live up to my standards. And I was like, no, will you just send me your stuff? I love your work for who you are. I want you to just, and there was only one thing that I wanted, and it was that I said, the poem has to tell me a story. You have to tell me a story, and you have to scare me. I want you to scare me, and I said, and it has to rhyme.
And
it needs to rhyme. And
I was gonna say,
that's an amazing book too. I absolutely love it. The talent
thank you.
That's in that book is just unbelievable to me.
I definitely have to check that book out. I'm assuming I can find it on Amazon.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes. And I sent Becky. She has the Kindle copy of both the Verses and Toys in the Attic. And now Verses from a Deeply Darkened Mind. That's the collection of my own horror poetry, and that is another labor of love. And the intro to the book, it pretty much tells you exactly, the way that my mind works. And there's a lot of, there's one of the poems in the book is about my mom. I had a dream, and my mom taught me to waltz, and I dedicated the book to her. She passed away in 2012, and she taught me to waltz when I was young in the kitchen. We were dancing, and I had a dream, and I put that dream in poetic form, and it ends the book. It's called The Waltz. And when you think of horror poetry, it's a poem about a ghost, but of course it's not the kind that's going to scare you,
scary.
where you don't want the lights off, right? But there are poems in the book that I've been told that you don't want to to turn the lights off. And another thing that Donna Fox had mentioned when she read Verses, there's a poem called The Ancient Bodhran. And The Ancient Bodhran was in Terror Train 2. It actually won the Editor's Choice Award for Terror Train 2. And it's written in an Irish brogue.
Okay.
And so, like Donna Fox had said that when she wrote a review on it, she had said that you have to read these things out loud, because reading them out loud, you really get, and she said that when she read The Ancient Bodhran, she heard her voice change, and that really made me feel good, because it means I succeeded. I've touched someone, and that's a wonderful thing to know that. If if my time on Earth is over tomorrow, I feel like I've left something behind. And if I were to be remembered in the ways that people have so kindly said about me, what a wonderful thing. And what a wonderful life I've led just in, a short amount of time to be at, but it's, but verses from a deeply darkened mind is truly, there's a lot of love put in here. And I'll just read you. It's very short.
Okay.
It says, yes, deeply darkened. These are the words which reside within the depths of a mind haunted, a haunting of neither the ethereal persuasion nor the ghosts of a hidden and unrelenting past. Here before you, etched upon parchment, are verse written from a mind haunted by words. This tome is unlike your typical modern-day collection of horror poetry. It is rather an assemblage of horror stories written in poetic form, written to tease that final nerve before the fatal break. Ah, yes. Here, this deeply darkened mind, who with pen in hand, black ink a must, has taken meter and rhyme to send a heartbeat racing in terror from one page to the next. Deeply darkened is my mind, my world, and I offer you entrance. That's right. Turn my page, crack my spine. I want you to cringe, squirm, look over your shoulder into the shadows, and dare you to shut out the lights once this cover has been closed. This deeply darkened mind bids you welcome. Yes, join me in my darkness.
Now that's how... Wait, was that poem used in the book?
That's my opening.
Oh, that's your opening? Oh,
right.
Shit. Holy hell. If I read that
That's
as an opening, I don't know if I would continue. I need to take the shot.
Yes, you would, too.
Well, there's one thing I have to tell you that there's one thing I have to tell you that I think is pretty funny. I think it's my husband one day, he came home from work. I wrote a few years back, there was this big thing on clown horror, and I'm sure, Becky, you remember Every 9 and 20 in the book.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's on the clown horror, and I was asked to write something that was, and I thought, okay, well, a lot of people are afraid of clowns, but and I was thinking of, the Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yeah.
And and things such as that, and then there's Blackwood. I don't know if you're familiar with. I think it's H.R. Blackwood. Is an author a long time ago, wrote something about a dark train. I remember that from being a kid. But anyway, I was asked to write clown horror and poem, and so I wrote this thing called Every 9 and 20, and my husband, and then the poem opened the book that it was in, and it was used in I did some work with Whispers in the Dark, Blog Talk Radio, Victor Aurelius and Jeff Niles a few years back, and I used to help them with their guests, and setting up their times, people from all over the world, setting up time zones and such, and whenever he'd have a bunch of guests from one anthology on the show. And I asked him if he would do a promo for this book. And so what he did was he took my poem, Every 9 and 20, and he read it. And so that was in the promo. So it was played over and over and over and over throughout, the airing of the show. And then the poem appeared in a couple of versions of this clown anthology. And a few years had went by, and my husband, he was at work one afternoon, and he went into one of his supervisor's office, and there was a woman that was there, and she said, "Hey, I'd like to ask you something. I think you would be the person to ask." And she went on to tell him that the night before, when she was spending some time with her friends, that they'd been discussing the recent occurrences of the clown sightings. Remember all the crimes and the violence and all this that was going on, and that was going on in the recent months across America and Canada, Europe, and stuff. And they were discussing this, and that they had heard that there was this thing that was being said, that every 19 or 20 years, a band of deadly clowns was going through the country, and they would go around on these crime sprees and leaving death and destruction, and then they disappear without a trace. And he says, "Well, yeah," I did know. And he said, "It sounds exactly like Mary's poem, Every 9 and 20. And he came home and he says, "Mary, I think you just created an urban legend." And I'm like, oh my God.
Cool.
What he told me was literally my poem. This woman verbatim. Wow. And I mean, she had never even read my poem. And yet she said that there was this group of people who were sitting around talking about this, and that it had gone around, and it's like, so every 9 and 20, my clowns, they come around, and that was the whole idea behind the poem. And so I just thought that was kind of cool. At the same time I was thinking, oh gosh, please don't connect me with these clown crimes. Please don't do that.
We know who did it. No.
Yeah, we know who did it. But yeah, so that was one I wanted to share with you, because I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, like you said, words are beautiful. They are, and
they are.
I mean, whether they're in a song, I mean, sometimes, you hear a song and that's the other thing with poetry, and that's, I love to read poetry that is like the old world poets. There's this beautiful, the rhyme scheme, the imagery, that, a lot of the poetry that's out, and that are in magazines and such now, they're just so harsh, and they've lost that
the feeling,
that essence. Yeah, the essence that is true poetry, and
see, I have a hard time with that, because I feel like I don't really have an ear for poetry. Like whenever I read poetry, I have to.
That, but then he liked the one I wrote.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one you wrote was great. But when I read it, it's like, it sounds weird, maybe not. But with a short story, I can read when I'm hungover or drunk, whatever. It's like, okay. But a poem, I have to be like in the right frame of mind. I have to devote time to read it, I feel. I have to like soak it in and let it, and think about the words, think about the prose and all that. But a short story, okay, does the plot make sense? Does it flow well? Okay, good. We got it.
That's because that's because you're so used to reading short stories that you don't think about those things anymore. If you read more poetry, it would click in your brain all of a sudden one day, and you would do the same thing with poetry that you do with short stories. And you wouldn't have that problem. I promise.
All right, I'll just read more poems, more poetry. I read more poetry.
Well, like, Becky, which one would you say out of verses was your favorite? Which one would you say that you liked the best? Which stood out?
I love the waltz because I knew it was about your mom, and it made me cry because I lost my mom in 2010, and not too far from now, and it's the anniversary, and I love the feeling of that. I loved how it was memories, and it just really struck me. There are so many in here. I mean, to pick one that I like the best, Lord, that's hard, woman.
Well, there's one that's in Stately Pious Prayer. Did you like that one?
Yes.
They're shrouded in the church.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that one?
Yes, I like that one very well. I've loved Time, The Pen, and The Tormented.
Okay, yeah. That's where it's Deadline. That one.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say I could read one to Jesse, and I was thinking, which one do you think, the waltz or?
Yeah, I read the waltz.
Prayer?
But I read the waltz, but I don't promise not to cry.
Yeah, read the waltz.
Okay.
Read it
all right.
anyway.
Don't. Okay. Don't cry. Please don't cry. If you cry, you'll make me cry.
I'm a robot.
Okay.
I'm incapable of tears.
Okay.
I don't cry. I'm incapable of tears.
All right.
You lie.
Okay. So, as if by dream I wander, upon a stream I ponder some odd unconsciousness. Down an unknown street I sway, carrying my feet astray with mindless helplessness. Blanket me deep in shadow, that which casts an eerie gloom, from silent wooded hollows to a dark and empty room. Must and dust hung the vapid air, the silence turned to ringing. Before me on a winding stair, a figure stood there singing. The music came from everywhere, and nowhere just the same. The figure gave ne'er a stare, in song she spoke my name. My name, it danced among the dust. My name, it rang in song. The figure called, answer I must, and yes, I sang along. Echo in the deepest dark, echo in my head, lilting, lingered, hushed remark, echoes of the dead. Louder now, the music played, much like a phonograph. I knew that I'd begun to sway, and then began to laugh. The figure from the stair did step upon the waxen floor, smiled, and like a breeze she swept, where life exists no more. Delicate, the hand touched mine, held it in her own. The other wrapped about my spine. A waltz, we danced alone. Familiar was its tempo, the tune, the melody. Upon the air, in time we flow. She sang the harmony. The staircase fell away, as did the floor, the walls. The specter and our ballet waltzed in a roomless hall. Round and round we cascaded, until our eyes then met. How could I have abated? How could I forget? 'Twas my dear mother before me, who held my hand in dance, her spirit spiraling free, to give me this gift, this chance. She called me in my dreaming, with music as a guide, lured me with notes beseeming of times before she died. The music slowly ceased to play. Her hand released my own. Sunlight broke the dark with day, and with it, Mom went home. I stood in an abandoned hall. A staircase streamed with light. My dreaming, where I'd heard her call, no longer dark as night. I stepped beyond the open door. A gardenia lay in wait. Right there, upon the oaken floor, a memento of this date. In the distance, a melody, a waltz began to play. Mom sang the harmony as I smiled and walked away.
Oh, man.
Now you see why I love that one.
Yeah, I can see. That's I didn't tear. I didn't produce a tear. But actually, I was wanting to scream and interrupt you and say, cherish this moment. Just do the ballerina, do the waltz with this entity, this spirit, whatever it is that's doing it with you. Because it made me think too. That's what I love about poetry. It kind of gets you to think about certain things, just kind of abstract. Like if I saw a ghost kid in my house and he was like, I don't know, playing Mario or doing something else, whatever. He was playing paper airplanes or throwing airplanes over the place. I'll just play with him. I'll be spooked out at first.
Yeah.
I'll probably shit my pants. But after that, I'm looking and I'm like, this kid just wants someone to play with, and all right, let me play with him until he goes away, and that part would be sad.
This was so vivid to me. I mean, I could see every part of this. I could see your mom standing on the stairs.
Yeah.
I could hear the music playing. I could see the dust floating in the air. I mean, it was just so vivid to me. And I mean, and the feeling in it. And you're right. And when you read it, your voice changed totally.
Oh yeah, it did. It did.
Thank
and
you.
I don't think I was gonna ask you if I could read one, and I was going to read this one, but I don't think I could have read it all the way through out loud. And I sat here and read it as you read it out loud. I was, I've got it pulled up on my iPad and was reading the words as you read them, and it's probably one of my. Yeah. It probably will be one of my favorite poems forever.
Even some people in the chat, even Renee, or Miss Mohair, she recognizes why you were compared to Poe, because that's one thing I noticed in your prose was like, man, she really knows how to hammer in the right word and keep it. It's not just a word; it's the sound, echo, and it's putting the right sound in the right place to form a pattern, or just where you're not really reading a story anymore or a poem. You are reading it's like music to your ears. You sold me.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Maybe I can be more poetic. I don't know. Maybe I sell myself short.
If you write a poem, I am sending it to her.
I'm going to write a poem. Cut my life.
Oh, my Lord.
My life as a... I don't know. Just me. Just my life. That's it. My hard life. My hard life.
You don't have a hard life, you dork.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not a millennial.
All you need.
I don't have to worry about Monopoly shitting on my life.
You behave yourself.
I write a millennial poem. I can't pay rent. Gotta sell plasma.
See, you can write about the odds.
You're going to write a poem about millennials?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to read you in stately pious prayer?
Man. Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, this one seems to be a favorite of a few. It also won Editor's Choice Award. Okay, somewhere in my dreaming was this so it's seeming to appear unfamiliar was the night. The darkness in its streaming was this so a distant screaming enveloped the air, choked with despair and fright. Stumbled blindly into nowhere. Upon a stair I entered somewhere. The darkness now shifted to mist. A church complete with steeple. In frozen time were people. Shadow cloaked what questioned to exist. Upon their knees they stayed. Upon their knees they stayed. Hands clasped, heads bowed, they prayed. No breath from their form did escape. Again in the dark. Somewhere in the dark, a scream, then a shuffle, a scrape. Ne'er one body did move, no speck of dust ere removed, beneath the dead shrouded and posed. Wait, a faint murmur, a sob near the altar, though nothing nor no one disclosed. A whisper, a humming, wicked and drumming, coming from above the choir loft. A cackling came after, maniacal the laughter, echo now distant and soft. Chipped and peeling, walls and ceiling creaked in loneliness, the hollow empty pews. Movement somewhere creeping, a liquid sound was seeping neath the moaning that so quietly ensued. From beyond the choral arch, phantom fingers played a march, a haunting death-scraped lullaby. Rocked on rotting pipes now singing, as unholy bells were ringing, played a dirge upon an ancient organ's cry. As by some unearthly command, or an unseen ghostly hand, those draped and still, now corpse-like, gravely stood. From a state of pious prayer, turned their heads to me and stared, and once a shroud looked back at me, a hood. The march grew with intensity, propelled by some strange entity that hummed beneath an empty, eerie tune. Toward me they moved, shuffling, backing awkward, stumbling. I begged the end, my God, dear God, come soon. Closer now, a pew away, the music hushed, then ceased to play, though shrouded, ever slowly turned around. Entranced by silence, shuffled on, the humming, haunting, screamings now gone. So quiet, yes, oh nary was a sound. Perhaps returned them to their quiet pose, shrouded bodies stiff reposed. The stillness of it all just took my breath. Toward the door I wished to find, before I knew I'd lose my mind, the scare alone would be my certain death. A simple pause, a quick glance back, cold my soul lit the darkness black, in fear returned the sights and spectral sounds. Dare I take but one last look, tented by the ground that shook? Dare I take the chance and turn around? Yes, I dared, and there I found. Upon their knees they stayed, hands clasped, heads bowed, they prayed. No breath from their form did escape. Again in the dark, somewhere in the dark, a scream, then a shuffle, a scrape. In silence I stood screaming, for I knew this was no dreaming, when the humming before me took shape. Then the organ began the march from above the loft's great arch, that the draped stood, knowing I had no escape. Now, upon my knees I stayed, hands clasped, head bowed, I prayed. No breath from my form did escape. Again in the dark, somewhere in the dark, a scream, then a shuffle, a scrape. Once the music ceased to play, so piously I prayed. Right there, draped and still, I stayed. Yes, there is where I stayed.
Oh my God, that
Amazing, isn't it?
That is powerful stuff. That hits you hard, and I could definitely hear the Poe influence. Wow. Okay. You know,
Thank you.
I feel like you need to come back on the show again, because hearing this now, I wanna read more of your work and really ask you what you mean by this, what you mean by that, and really, because I feel like we could probably explore some themes, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because just that poem that you just read, I'm sure it has some significant influence, right?
Well, it was. I saw a photograph, an old photograph of a abandoned church, and there were, like, the statues, how they're dusty and sometimes in the Gothic era, a lot of the statues seem to be shrouded. And it just made me think of these figures being in this church and being on their knees, shrouded, and just like lost in time, stuck there.
Huh.
And they're on this continuous repeat. It's almost like their own hell, but they're in church. They're in a church, which is, something you wouldn't even think of being anything near hell. But they're in this church, and here I walk inside. And there's this loft, this choir loft, and you can hear this the organ, playing this tune, and then suddenly these figures just start to move.
Wow.
And they know there's someone alive in the room, and they start to walk toward me. And then when the music stops, they stop, and they turn around, and they go back, and they kneel again.
Yeah, see,
and
that's what I'm saying.
So it's and it's just so it's just this, this in my mind, this vision of these figures, and they're alive, they're when the music is no longer playing, they have no more life. They're frozen in time.
Yeah.
And then when that choral march starts to play, then they become animate, and they, and then of course in the end, and most of my poetry, where I am in it, for I would say like 9 times out of 10, is my demise in one form or another. But it's in that one, it's like to me that one was tame. It wasn't, really like there's Sheldon. You were talking about Sheldon Woodbury. One of his favorite in the book is The Intruder. And I'll leave that one for you to read, because
yes.
Unless you want me to read that one, because that one it's do you remember that one, Becky? The Intruder?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
would.
Okay.
I would like you to read it, but we are kind of running out of time.
Okay.
You definitely need to come back on. You definitely need to come back on this show, and when you do,
absolutely.
Might even schedule it earlier just for you to give you even more time. Because you have,
yes,
I love this. And for any future guest that hears this, being able to talk about one's work and how it influences and how it relates to other things and that, I love going down those rabbit holes. I love that. And you as listeners know that because, I mean, that's what I do. I talk about what was your influence on this. Oh man, let's go deep in that. Man, okay. Ooh. There's so much here though. And you are the sort of person that's very in tune with your surroundings, with how you feel, and you are very, very wise. I mean, and you have a very artistic touch about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
That's quite a compliment.
She's a keeper. We're keeping her.
Oh yeah. And, and I remember you said you were married, right? You said you're married?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I am. Yeah.
All right. He's been good to you, right?
Yes.
No, that's not
Yes.
my business. I'm just saying. Okay. All right. If not, then we have some problems.
Yes.
We gotta take care of some problems. Okay. All right. That's good. That's good to hear. All right. Well, we're problem solvers here. That's what we are. Ladies, gentlemen, if you made it this far, thank you so much. Give Mary Genevieve. Did I say it right? I probably messed it up now.
Genevieve.
Genevieve. Fortier.
Yes.
What the hell, dude?
I had 2 shots of
You
moonshine.
had it. What happened?
2 or 3 shots of moonshine. That's what happened.
I see. So the
I
blind
don't know,
man.
Becky. I don't know, Becky. What happened? A few shots of moonshines. What
I
happened?
don't know.
I don't see you taking shots over there. So what are you doing?
No, I'm smart.
Now I'm getting testy. All right. You made it this far. Press that like button and subscribe and share to someone that digs poetry. I mean, I know we talked about some crazy stuff in the beginning. We always do. Millennial monopoly.
That was fun.
A woman being stretched out
that
too
was
much
fun.
by her boyfriend's hard cock. Oh my God! I swear, those horrible covers, man.
Oh, that was really
Ooh.
Yeah, that was
I've
something.
seen a lot of those. Yeah.
We got to find more horrible
Yeah,
covers.
unfortunately, I have too.
Oh man! All right, ladies, gentlemen, y'all take it easy. Mary, thank you so much for coming on. Becky, thank you so much for co-hosting. And
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you for having me. And I just,
Thank you,
Becky
Mary.
and I have been talking all week, and I've had so much fun talking back and forth with her on Messenger. And
Me too.
Yeah, I think we found a kindred. I found a kindred spirit, right, Becky?
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun on this show. I really enjoyed myself, Jesse. Thank
That's
you.
what this show's
and
about.
thank you
It's about
for
having
all the
fun.
wonderful compliments. I'm very humbled by your words, and I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I can promise you he
And
means every one of them.
No, I can feel that, and I send you a hug from my heart.
Oh, nice. Thank you. All right.
I absolutely love you. You know, we need to get together in real life sometime. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yes, that would be great. That would be.
We'll have to do that.
All right. With that said, y'all take it easy.
Okay.